Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called Masters Mechanic Shoppe, written by AC1308. Max Masters, owner and proprietor of Masters Mechanic Shoppe, vehicular mechanic and repairman to the cape and spandex set, raised his eyebrows. "Say that again," he requested. Getting up from his comfortable office chair, he gave it a fond pat. Repairing custom-built vigilante mobiles paid the big dollars, making him wonder just how many were secretly philanthropic billionaires behind those brooding cowls. "We've got a big day today," Vera repeated crisply. At 22, Vera was blonde, good-looking, and the best secretary he'd ever had. She also had the perfect appearance to be kidnapped by less scrupulous villains to force Max to repair their vehicles for free. "Everyone is coming in." It had only happened once. Mac had simply made it known that he would be suspending operations until Vera was returned safe and sound. Within 2 hours, a somewhat ruffled Vera had been dropped off by Baron von Blutrost, whose V-24 engine had then revved to a thunderous roar as he accelerated away. There had been blood on his fenders. Max never quite dared ask what had happened to that idiot sideswipe, the one who'd kidnapped Vera for the first time. He suspected he would not enjoy the answer. "Everyone," Max suspected he had some Italian ancestry, given the amount he liked to talk with his hands. Now he gestured aimlessly, trying to gauge the import of her words. "What do you mean, everyone?" She held up a tablet. "I mean everyone. Every hero, vigilante, secret masked racer, costume courier, cowled anti-hero, and actual villain who has an account with us is bringing their vehicle in to get fixed today." On the table, as she extended it to him, he saw line after line after line, each with a unique bright red flag that screamed "Masked Driver." His heart sank, and today was going so well too. Making a beeline for the coffee machine, he started to pour himself a brew. "What happened?" Die Fledermaus and von Blutbruch encountered each other doing drive-bys on the West Side Demons, and Scalding taunted von Bluchrush into a race. Max took a drink of coffee, then closed his eyes and pinched the bridge of his nose. Die Fledermaus and Baron von Blutrush, Flying Fox and Baron von Bloodrage, when translated to English, were no more German than Max himself was, but they liked the sound of their names in another language. And of course, Shuddling sounded much better than a teen apprentice in crime to Fledermaus than Vermin would. And the rest of them, he didn't want to know, even though he had to. Due to a catastrophic series of events, they encountered a lawmaker on his rounds, so he went after them, trying to get them to cease then desist. Johnny Wheels saw the race and joined in, trying to beat Blutbruch and Fledermaus both. By then, word had gotten out, and the others kind of flocked to the situation. They decimated traffic on Main Street West, went through the Hillside Mall at well over the speed limit, raced jets and won at the Challenger Memorial Airport, and finally converged at the docks, where they started obstacle course racing amongst the shipping containers. Speed Freak hit the nitro at the wrong moment, spun out and crashed. Everyone else piled up with him, wrecking their rides to a greater or lesser degree. Nobody seriously hurt, thank goodness. "How long do we have before the first ones get here?" Max eyed the big red button that was there for emergencies. "Drop everything, all hands on deck." He didn't think he'd have to use it this time, but Vera grimaced. 15 minutes. Max hit the alarm button. The first one through the doors was one of the initiators of the race, Fledermaus. His Fledermobile, Max actually felt physical pain at mashing of words, had a bent axle and was running on a temporary tire. One fender was gone, and there were dents and bullet holes all over one side. As the vehicle limped to a halt, Shuddling leapt out of the passenger side and swaggered over to Max. "Master, my man," he crowed, "you see before you the victors of a race you had to see to believe." Max cleared his throat. "That's Mr. Masters to you, young man, and I suspect I wouldn't have believed it, even if I had seen it." "What the hell are you saying to me?" The teenage villain's face darkened, and he flicked the ratarang in his belt. "You know who I am?" "Shut it, Shuddling," growled Fledermaus, taking his psychic shoulder in hand and shoving him back towards the Fledermobile. Sorry about that, Mr. Masters. Won't happen again. How fast can you get it done? Masters pursed his lips as he walked slowly around the vehicle, ignoring Shardling sulking in the background. The Fleetermobile had suffered greatly in the race, but the basic chassis seems to be intact. Assuming no emergencies or undetected damage, it shouldn't be more than an hour or two. Turning towards Fledermaus, he lowered his eyebrow. No biotoxins, mutagens, or radiation leaks this time. The cowed villain looked suitably abashed. No, I've got everything locked down. Should be clean for you guys to work on. Excellent. Max clapped his hands twice, and members of his crew ran forward. Swiftly and efficiently, they hooked up cable to attachment point on the Fleetermobile. A winch started up far back in the workshop, and the unwieldy vehicle was dragged into the darkness. You know where the waiting area is? Sure thing, we should be fine. Fledermaus led the way, with Shardling trailing behind. Less than 30 seconds later, Johnny Wheel showed up. He was in a regular car with the bright red and white technomorphic motorcycle that he used for his highly illegal cross-city race challenges on the trailer behind. As Mac's mechanics used a forklift to unload it, he explained that someone, he wasn't sure who, but he had his suspicions, had hit it with a high-end virus, causing the frame to morph into something that looked more like a modern art than a motorcycle. We can deal with that, Max assured him. His workshop had every iteration of Johnny Wheels' firmware on file. If need be, they'd purge the system and reboot from scratch. You know where the waiting room is? Sure. Johnny took one last lingering look at his stricken bike, then headed off in that direction. The next arrivals were Baron von Blutrosch, Lawmaker, and Speed Freak. Lawmaker was another bike user. His mount, though functional, was barely so. Blutrosch's monstrous black-painted vehicle was missing on most of its cylinders and had a huge dent in the side, and Speed Freak's car was being towed on a flatbed, given that all 4 computer-controlled wheels had come off. When Max got there, Lawmaker was continuing an argument that was surely going on from the previous night, threatening Blutrosch and Speed Freak with arrest for vehicular mayhem, leaving tire tracks on the side of skyscrapers, destroying traffic lights, and numerous other offenses. You do nothing of the sort, Max reminded him firmly. This is a place of business, and I offer everyone my business equally, and, in any case, neither of them is capable of leaving tire marks on vertical surfaces. Speak to Fledermaus or maybe Car Acnid about that after you leave here. Now I have bays prepared for your vehicles. You know where the waiting room is.
Yeah, okay, sure thing, Mr. Masters. Ja, mein Herr.
All 3 slunk off to the waiting room, and Max sighed. He had a suspicion it would only get worse. He received and in-processed 4 more cars. 2 motorcycles, a turbocharged Sedgway, and a skateboard of doom, broken in half, with a Baron von Bloschreich tire mark across the deck, before his phone rang. As he answered, he saw it was Vera. What's the problem? Because, of course, there was a problem. It's the waiting room, she said worriedly. I've tried to calm them down, but they keep flaring up again. Okay, I'm on it. He took a deep breath and saw another flatbed truck pulling onto the forecourt. You're going to need to come out here and process them in, though. I can do that. I know you can. He ended the call and started for the waiting room, lips pressed into a thin line. Just think of the money. Just think of the money. The waiting room was somewhat misnamed. It was a large, spacious, and had several very comfortable sofas placed around it. There was a fridge with complimentary snacks. He'd given up on the honor system for obvious reasons, a pinball machine, and a huge screen TV. Right now, there was also more than a dozen superheroes, villains, and rogues of every stripe rubbing elbows with each other. Some would normally have been willing to kick back and wait for their ride to be repaired, but others were naturally prickly, and some were willing to prod them and see what happened. And so, when he opened the door, it was as to a scene of mayhem. Nobody had pulled weapons yet, which was a minor miracle in itself. But Speed Freak and Speedway were arguing ferociously about who had rights to the Speed name. Von Blutrosch and Fledermaus were yelling at each other over who'd actually won the race. Shardling was taunting Lawmaker over the damage to his bike. Apparently the team had had a hand in that. And Johnny Wheels looked ready to go blows with Car Acnid for some reason Max had yet to determine. This didn't mean the others in the room were in any way quieter. Tempers were flaring and could explode at any moment. Drawing in a deep breath, Max Masters expelled it in a shout that shook dust from the ceilings. "Shut up!" Stunned into silence, everyone turned to him. He knew he had to talk fast. His power allowed him temporary ascendance over people, the influence lasting longer than how loud he shouted, but it never went for more than a few minutes. Still, he would get his point across. "Thank you," he said into a newly created silence. "Now I will tell you that if anyone starts violence on my premises, they will be blackballed from my shop for 1 year." The stunned silence was swapped out for a horrified one. Nobody wanted to go there. After a moment during which he let it sink in, he went on. "The waiting room is for waiting, not for arguing. Fleet Mouse, control your protege. Lawmaker, stay away from shuttling. Speedway, Speed Freak, you can share the name. Johnny Wheels, car acted, don't even think about it. Everyone, settle down and watch some TV." He went to leave and turned back. "Oh, and the race was judged a draw." As the groans rose within, he let the door shut as he hurried back to work. Not every day was like this at Masters Mechanic Shoppe, but there was more than a fair share of excitement. At least, it wasn't boring. End of story. I would just like to thank the T5 supporters: Bushmaster 117, Casper Arnholtz, Draxoon WRE, Elijah Silvercross, Gray, John Carrington, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.